All right. Hey, coaches. Welcome back to the three method series. This week, we're going to look at working on the ball side help, one pass away. What are some strategies we can use to incorporate into our practices? Let's get into it. All right. Now, in this post here, we're really kind of digging into three different concepts I put together: a 2-on-1 or a 2-on-2 stunt and recover concept that we can use. Yeah, like this is kind of like an early season type of approach. We've got a 2-on-2 Russian drill, which is kind of a spin on a finishing drill that we use that now will incorporate helping from the corner. And then, of course, a 4-on-4 shell drill concept, essentially adding a hot spot that would force players to drive, thus working on the ball side help concept here. At the end, I really want to dig into this idea of to help or not to help, because from a philosophical standpoint, that is going to be what we really need to decide before we start digging into practice concepts. All right, let's check out this first teaching methods. Now, regardless, in each of these videos, I try to put together a couple teaching points that I want to focus on. For me, I think we want to position ourselves so that we've got vision of the basketball at all times, right? I mean, that's a pretty basic teaching point, but one that obviously we need to instill. The other one is getting a hand and a foot that is closest to the basketball forward, right? I mean, this is a stance concept, but we need that hand and foot closest to the basketball forward so that we're in a position where we can help affect the drive and also keep our outside hand free to deflect anything coming to the player we're guarding. Also, the idea of over-helping. We've got to help guys understand when help is necessary and when it is not, right? I mean, over-helping is going to lead to a collection of three-point shots, and we've got to be careful to know when the appropriate time to help is and when not to. And lastly, we've got to focus on active hands. Like when we are helping, we have got to be active in the passing lanes so that these don't turn into kickouts. These got to be moments where the ball has to pivot, move away from its initial line of penetration, and then be able to sort of get the deflections we want to head back the other way. All right, why don't we get into our first drill here? All right, now the first thing we're talking about here is a simple 2-on-1 stunt and recover drill here. Now, we'll have it drawn up here on the left-hand side with a coach and then two players. So theoretically, if we can get two coaches, one on one end, one on the other, we can make this work with more reps. More or less what we want is sort of a coach drive, a player in help is up in a stance, inside hand up, inside foot up, and they're going to react to the drive, make sure that they're touching it, and then, of course, sprinting back out to their closeout here. Mostly it's working the technique of a couple slides to help, and then, of course, scrambling back to your man here. Obviously to add a little bit of live element, we can play this one-on-one. As the pass goes out to the offense, we allow them to then, drive the ball to the basket, give them 3 dribbles to play one-on-one with on that kick out here. Now, if we want to sort of eliminate the coach here and add it in a 2-on-2 element, we certainly can kind of position this to be like a 2-on-2 blow-by type of concept. So as you can see down here, I got the X2 positioned behind the driver, right? So let's position the defender in a way in which the drive is going to happen. We have to react to it, and then we're going to scramble 2-on-2 out of this drill here, right? So setting up the 2-on-2 certainly is kind of where we want to end. I would say for most of the season, that's where we want to live, is those kind of 2-on-2 blow-by concepts, and be able to kind of go from there. Now, certainly whether you as coaches want to teach, that you're going to stunt at the ball but not actually help, or whether you're going to physically go and stop that drive. I mean, that's something we can talk about at the end with philosophy, but certainly I think setting up some type of 2-on-2 would be a great way to do this. Team of 12, let's get 3 pairs on one end, 3 pairs on the other end. We rotate them through offense to defense to out, and we can kind of get through this help scenario in more of a live play type of concept. So I like this as a real breakdown type of element. All right, now let's get into 2-on-2 Russian here. I got a couple of these drills live on my website, and I got them on the YouTube channel. If you want to kind of search through some of the practice stuff, this is kind of a drill that we use for finishing, but is a great drill for teaching help off the corner. All right, what we'll probably do is we're going to designate a defender that will guard the corner, and we're going to designate a corner shooter. Let them go through a number of reps, and then we'll switch out those people. The other players are going to be sort of either in teams, right? Let's maybe get like the offensive team over here, get the defensive team over here. Both will dribble the offensive team will dribble at the defender. They'll conduct a dribble handoff. And I usually put a chair out here on the floor. And of course, the defender, after he hands it off, has to circle around the chair, as we can kind of see in the second diagram. And the offensive player, of course, would curl that dribble right to the rim once he gets it. And what more or less you get now is for this help defender, we're going to get him in that stance, inside hand, inside foot up. And they're either going to react to this drive or not. And this is a decent way for us to kind of try to teach, when how much help we have to give, right? Did they beat their man clean and it looks like they're going to take a layup? Well, we got to sell out and stop that layup. Or do they only have a small little advantage and we can kind of stunt and keep that basketball out of the rim, but also be in a position to challenge that kick out to the corner. Now, of course, hey, let's play this 2-on-2 here. If they shoot it, great, let's box and get it. If they drive it, let's defend the drive. And then when that possession's over, let's give the offense and defense a chance to kind of to reset here. I even like the idea maybe of getting a second defense and offensive player here so that like every rep we can just kind of alternate them in and out and kind of go from there. All right, let's get to the third one here now. A third method here is going to be sort of like a shell drill variation here, right? Let's set up our team in like a 4-out typical shell drill here. And what we're pretty much going to do is add a constraint here. We're going to say as the ball swings around the perimeter, anytime it hits our hot spot area, typically I would pick like one of these two slot areas up top. Every time it hits that hot spot area, they've got to drive it, okay? They've got to drive it. They can drive it middle. They can drive it, to their weak hand, so you force corner help here. But no matter what, they have to attempt the drive here. You can let them jab step or whatnot, but they've got to rip and drive it. Obviously, from here, within our shell drill, we're teaching, that we got to react to this. So we've got to react with our help and stunt and recover, and then we're playing this live, right? Now, obviously, what I would like to do is once it hits the hot spot and is driven, let's play this live 4-on-4, right? So that's not just like sort of a skeleton, predictable movement type of thing. We're playing kind of 4-on-4, hits the hot spot, they drive it, we help and recover and sort of play it live from there. I typically like, doing something like this, you can really kind of work this into like a cutthroat type of thing. Let's create 3 teams of 4. If that offensive team scores, they get to stay. If the defensive team gets a stop, they get to go to offense, right? And then the new defense steps in. I like that kind of idea to make it a little bit more competitive, and let's really work on that initial like stunt and recover back to our man moment. All right. For our like bonus feature here, I think we got to kind of look at the idea of helping or not helping here, right? Now, typically, I think the decision to be made here is more or less like, how do we want to help on drives? Do we want to give up the 3-point shot, or do we want to, challenge shots at the rim? And, I think if from a high school coach perspective, like we've got to, I to some extent, play the percentages. We've got to, in my opinion, try to stop that basketball from being driven at the rim. Your best high school teams are probably shooting, 30% or less from 3, and teaching them when not to overhelp, I think, is the even more important skill here, right? On these types of slot drives that I have drawn up here, I mean, we are going to react and help on these. Teaching the recovery part of this, the closeout part of this, and then when not to overhelp, I think really are what is going to help us prevent 3-point shots, and then ultimately like be able to help without a ton of negative consequences. Okay, that's it for this week. If you guys have not subscribed to the site or haven't taken a look yet, I'd encourage you guys to go to CoachLynchBasketball.com. We've got over 100 posts on there on all sorts of different topics: offense, defense, practice, you name it. If you aren't subscribed, click that subscribe button below. We're going to put together one of these 3-method series every week for the whole summer, really try to build up the channel and give people ideas to bring back to their own teams. All right, coaches, we'll check you out next week.